What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Here we are with another reaction, and in this one we have That Time Poland Saved the World. Before we dive into this video, if you guys happen to enjoy it, please don't forget to smash that subscribe button, give a video a thumbs up, and let's find out how Poland saved the world.
Those of us who live in places of the world that have not had their very existence threatened in living memory tend to forget how fragile order actually is. Everything that you have, your family, your country, your freedom, those things that are taken for granted actually have defined boundaries. Those things exist because men stand ready to do violence and defend them in the night against those who would take them away from you.
I completely agree with that statement. I always show the utmost respect and gratitude to anyone who is willing to make that sacrifice and go and fight and defend their country. Yeah, I'm from the U.S. Utmost respect to the soldiers of the U.S., but I show that respect to soldiers around the world, because anyone who is willing to be brave enough, right, to make that sacrifice and go and fight for their country and be willing to sacrifice their lives, I don't think anyone else deserves more respect than them. That's truly something that's inspirational. That's what that is. And I think he was completely right in saying sometimes we take for granted our freedoms and our comfortability, especially me being born into the U.S. and living here. I've never seen war here. And I do think that I can take that for granted at times.
There is a place, a frontier of sorts, where such men have stood guard for centuries. A place where East has repeatedly collided with West. A rampart which shielded the Western world against enemies many were not even aware existed.
Wow.
The Mongols, the Tatars, the Ottomans, and merely 100 years ago, the Soviet communists, who were keen to push their totalitarian ideology westward. This is the story of a long-forgotten battle in which Poland overcame the enemy, and by so doing, may well have changed the fate of Europe and of the world.
Dang.
It's the story of the Battle of Warsaw, the miracle you've never heard of.
Wow.
To understand the story, we need to go back in time. In 1918, from the ashes of the First World War, after 123 years of occupation, Poland rose again. To the east, in Russia, just a year earlier, Vladimir Lenin and the Bolsheviks took power following the October Revolution. This huge turning point in world history did not happen overnight. The seeds of revolution were planted 70 years earlier by Karl Marx in his Communist Manifesto and Das Kapital. The critique of private ownership and of the right to accumulate capital, the hatred of traditional values. These were some of the intellectual underpinnings of Lenin and his followers. The new and better world they sought to build required the dismantling and ruin of the previous system. The Russia of old was replaced with a new Bolshevik state. As the communists consolidated power, they became keen on exporting their ideology. They proclaimed the need for the dictatorship of the proletariat and agitated for a worldwide communist revolution.
And it's what I find scary about things like this is that there are people in the world like who agreed with those thoughts, who agreed with those statements, who agreed with those ideals and those values. And I just find that to be disturbing. Like, I'm in no position to judge anyone, but at the same time, it's just a struggle. It's just a struggle for me to understand. That's the problem. I can't understand it. That many people would follow, and so where it would kind of sweep through a nation and want to spread this ideal throughout the world. That's what I just fail to understand.
Soviet leadership expected a revolution in economic crisis-ridden Germany. But to support communist revolution there, Poland needed to be conquered first. Unlike old powers that were tired and broken by war, Poland had just reclaimed its independence, and Poles were fervently rebuilding and consolidating their country. They sought to strengthen that which the occupiers had tried to crush, their culture, language, and faith. The Bolsheviks needed to extinguish a reawakening Poland as fast as possible. Not only did it stand completely at odds with their values, it was also their bridge into Western Europe. And so, the Bolshevik Revolution moved west, carried forward by the bayonets of the Red Army, recruited from the very lowest echelons of society. The communists preached freedom and equality, but they brought misery and death. General Tukhachevsky's order from the 2nd of July 1920 read, "To the west, over the corpse of White Poland lies the road to worldwide conflagration. On our bayonets we will bring happiness and peace to the toiling masses of mankind. To the west, onward to Berlin over the corpse of Poland." It wasn't just the independence of Poland that was at stake in the Battle of Warsaw. If the Soviets managed to break the Poles and push west into Germany, communist revolution may have been successfully ignited, and Europe may have fallen to the Soviets. The Soviets moved through Poland at the remarkable rate of 32 kilometers a day. By the beginning of August 1920, the vanguards of the Soviet army had reached the outskirts of Warsaw. The Poles were unwilling to give up their newly acquired independence. The nation came together and mobilized its resources. A volunteer army was created. In total, over 100,000 Poles would join from all walks of life. Peasants and aristocrats, students and workers, Boy Scouts and intellectuals alike enlisted to defend Poland. Polish women were not idle either, with thousands enlisting in the Voluntary Legion of Women, a female paramilitary. Civilians gathered food and medical supplies, and church pews filled up as Poles prayed for victory over the Bolshevik armies. Volunteers from abroad also...
This is truly something that is inspirational, something that is amazing, how the Polish people came together to fight the Soviets who wanted to sweep their ideals around the world. Poles were the one who stood in their path from all walks of life. Students, workers, old, young, didn't matter. They all volunteered, and the women didn't sit idly by either, as they formed a squadron of women, and then paratroopers or what did you say, whatever. All of them came together to fight against these armies, to fight against the Soviets. Churches filled up, praying for victory. This is beautiful to see an entire country come together to fight against communism, to fight against the Soviets, to fight against those who wanted to spread their ideals around the world, but not through consent, not through convincing. No, they wanted to be a ruler, right? It sounds like either you were gonna believe in what they believed, or execution was gonna come. They brought death and misery.
Filled up as Poles prayed for victory over the Bolshevik armies. Volunteers from abroad also joined the Poles. Americans formed the Kościuszko Volunteer Flight Squadron, the French sent an advisory group, and the Hungarians supplied ammunition. The Soviets advanced, confident in victory. However, the Polish military intelligence had successfully decrypted the Red Army's radio messages, and the Poles prepared themselves for the oncoming onslaught. On the 13th of August, the Battle of Warsaw finally started. The die was cast. This was a war of worlds, freedom against oppression, faith against godlessness, the right to work, create and own against complete subjugation to the state, the individual against the collective. This was a battle between Western civilization and communist totalitarianism. It was here, on the outskirts of Warsaw, that in August of 1920, the fate of the world was to be decided. On the 14th of August, Father Ignacy Skorupka marched with the 236th Infantry Regiment of the Volunteer Army and died in battle, allegedly as he led a charge with his crucifix in hands, thus becoming a symbol of the battle for Warsaw. And against all odds, the Poles prevailed. It took the tactical genius of Field Marshal Piłsudski, General Rozwadowski, and General Haller, the courage of Polish soldiers, and the mobilization of the whole country to overcome the Soviets. At the end of the 15th of August, the Soviet advance was finally halted, and on the next day, Field Marshal Piłsudski led the successful Polish counteroffensive. Since the victory occurred on the Feast of the Assumption, the battle came to be known as the Miracle of the Vistula.
Dang.
The Bolshevik horde, which was meant to enter Europe over Poland's dead corpse and assist German communist workers, was not only stopped, but turned back and contained. Remember that your freedoms are not free. They are hard fought and paid for in blood. Do not waste this gift.
That's such an incredible video. Shout out. I just continue to learn how great the Poles are over and over and over again. They are truly sensational. And I can't thank you, the Poles, enough, man. That Battle of Warsaw definitely change the fate of Europe, of not only Europe but probably the world. 100%. Man, you guys are just an absolutely incredible country. That's all we have. If you enjoyed that, please don't forget to subscribe. Give the video a thumbs up. Check out that next one. I'll see you guys next time.